Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome to the Networking RX podcast. I am your host, Frank Gagan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Today, we have another guest. Actually, it's a repeat guest. If you were with us for episode 280, I had on Alissa Carpenter, and Alissa is the author of a book, How to Listen and Be Heard, Inclusive Conversations at Work. Again, that was episode 280, and we talked about toxic people. So if you get a chance, go check that out. And when you get a chance to check that out, I'll touch on her bio here, but I went through every little inch of her bio, and she's got a ton here. She's been on name a publication or a station, and she's been on it. CBS, ABC. I don't see NBC here. We need to work on that one. But she has her master's. Actually got a couple. It looks like she worked at the Wharton School. If you're familiar with the Wharton School, there's like Harvard Business School, and then there's the Wharton School, and it's like 1 and 1A. So quite a resume, and she's the founder of a consulting firm called Everything's Not Okay, and That's Okay. Alissa, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me, Frank.
All right. I'm a pleaser. I admit I'm a pleaser. And I think people who are relationship builder types are pleasers. I think there's a segment of the population that don't have any trouble saying no. I'm not one of them. I want to say no, but often I don't. And so you wrote a whole chapter in here on saying no and setting boundaries. And so I wanted to have kind of a quick conversation with you on how to say no. And I guess, shame on me. If I'm saying yes, it's not their problem, it's my problem. But I need help with my problem. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there who are relationship builders, certainly lots of people on this podcast, because it's a podcast on building relationships. So,
yeah, we're the same.
Okay.
I am very much a people pleaser, and it is very hard, especially I think, again, in these professions and kind of what we're doing. I think it's so hard to say no. As an entrepreneur, you're starting out, it's so hard to say no. Given the situation in 2020 with the pandemic, will I be paid next month? You want to make sure, you do. So you're saying yes to things maybe in previous years that might not be an engagement you're wanting to do. Like there's maybe some fear-based yeses in there. It's still something that I'm working on in terms of saying no, and no, honestly, is a complete sentence. No, I won't do that. No, I won't be there. And I think it's easier sometimes to RSVP to a child's birthday party and say no than it is to say no at work and tell somebody that you are overwhelmed or you have a lot going on. You want to give kind of all of these reasons why behind it. But it's difficult to say no. And for me, this idea of, and there's so many things out there like the year of yes, and do like things that are telling us we should be saying yes, we should be doing more, like to defeat kind of going the opposite of what you're trying to do. For me, kind of the back of my mind when I'm thinking, should I say yes or should I say no? If I say no, then I have the opportunity to say more yeses to things that I really want to do and I really want to be a part of, or organizations that I really want to work with. But I need something in the back of my mind that's telling me it's okay to say no, because I might be saying yes to something else in the future. Without that, this no, I can't do this, or no, I'm not available. It doesn't work for my type of personality, of this like people pleasing personality. I don't want to let people down.
Right.
But I think people can take advantage of that too. Even when you're saying it's my problem, if I'm the one saying no, or I'm the one saying yes. But I do think sometimes people take advantage and know, I'm going to go to Frank. He's going to be my guy. He's going to be the one to help me with this, or I'm going to go to Alissa for here. And then, even more, I don't want to let people down, right? They're relying on me, or they're putting their confidence in me. So saying that no can be even that much harder.
Well, in reality, whenever we're always saying no. We're saying yes to one thing, we're saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to that birthday party, well, you're saying no to just having a quiet Saturday afternoon at home, or whatever it might be. So we're always saying no. But I agree with you. I find myself saying yes because I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to. It's when people tell me no, it's a rejection. I mean, there's something emotional there that it's just primitive. It's a rejection, and you kind of, I don't know. There's no way around that. I mean, and again, that's my problem if I'm feeling rejected by somebody, and that might be part of the reason why I'm saying yes, because I don't want them to feel rejected. But you offer up some great strategies in here.
And there's a middle ground too, right? So I think if you're used to being that yes person and going from yes to now I'm going to say no to everything, that's a big leap, I think, to make to something else. But the worst, I think, case would be you saying yes when you really mean no, and being able to identify those types of situations. And I think from starting from this yes, not no, but somewhere in the middle, and thinking about and just asking that person, I'm not available right now to do this, but if your schedule happens to free up in 2 weeks, like think about alternative timelines. If you're really busy right now, but in 2 weeks you're free and available to do these things, offer that, opportunity. So it's not a no from them if you don't feel comfortable with that. If there's somebody else who would be a good fit for the situation, it is not a no that you can't do it. You're still being helpful, you're still pleasing, you're still giving them kind of the end results. It's just not you. So thinking about different alternatives that would be helpful for that kind of middle ground space, to me is always a good way to start that conversation, or that starting to think of for yourself.
No, I think that's good advice. In fact, thinking about it, I'm starting to employ more and more of that, because I'll get people who will reach out on LinkedIn and they'll want to talk, and they're well-meaning. It's not, hey, I want to sell you life insurance kind of things, but they're, hey, do you have time this afternoon or tomorrow? Well, there was a day in my existence where I could talk at the drop of a hat, but those days are long gone. And so I'm not saying no to these people. I'm just saying, listen, my schedule, I would love to have a conversation, but my schedule is full for a week. And if you want to use this link and find something, great. If it's got to be, here in the next 24 hours, I can't do that.
But you can even say, and I've gotten messages, or I've sent messages, if you still don't want to have the conversation, if you're still, I want to say no, but I don't know how, thank the person, always thank you for reaching out, as I'm sure you're really busy. There's a lot of things, going on, or a lot of things that I'm involved in. And unfortunately, I'm not able to have one-on-one conversations with everybody that I meet through LinkedIn. If you have specific questions, please feel free to reach out with me with those. Whatever that is, you can have this formed response, right? So you have a document that has all this information. So you're not reinventing the wheel each and every time. You can put people's names in them. And if you're consistently getting the same asks of, I want to talk with you within the next day or 2 days, have your form message ready to go, so you feel a little bit more confident. This is a message that you vetted, you read through, you looked at, you feel, it's going to work. And you can have a nice no. It doesn't have to be, no, I never want to talk to you, I never want to be with you kind of thing. For business, but create something where you're confident in your decision and how you've communicated it.
No, that's good advice. I mean, from time to time, nobody does coffee in COVID, right? But leading up to it, people, hey, I would love to go out for a cup of coffee with you, pick your brain. It's like, I don't have time for a cup of coffee. Can
Well,
we
a
do
cup
it?
of coffee isn't just the coffee, right? And I think that people, it's the
Yeah.
15-minute coffee, hour for me to get there and back, catching up
Yes.
on emails. Like there's more to it.
Yes. And I think people are in different stages, and some of the people, I'm in transition. Frank, I want to pick your brain and figure out how I could be networking better, or maybe they don't even know. And I'll just, hey, I would love to help you. Coffee's just not on the agenda for me. Can we have a conversation? And a lot of times I'm not the person they need to be talking to anyways. So I'll save them time.
And you can even create a resource, and I've suggested to other people that I've done myself. Again, if looking back at the type of communication that you typically get that you always say no or should say no to, if you had a sheet that was top 10 ways to network or top 10 places to join or whatever that is, I'm sorry, I'm not available to have a conversation with you. That's a great question. I've actually created a one sheet about it to be able to help you out along the way. So you're still pleasing, right? And in that
Yeah.
way that feels good, you're still helping, but it's not hours and hours worth of your time. So coming up with that different space or that different person or a different avenue to still be helpful and feel like you're giving back, but just not in a way that you don't want to or can't.
Yeah. And those, a lot of times I'll just invite people to an event I'll be at. Hey, I'm going to this particular event. If you can arrange to be there, we could have a conversation there. And if they're not interested in it, they're not interested in it. So, but you
That's
call,
huge.
yeah, it's, some people are put off by that. They want the private time, and it's like, well, whatever. We don't need to get into that, I guess. I think it's a fair compromise, but whatever. You call these go-to phrases, and you have a lot of really neat ones here in the book. And what I like about some of these is you're really kind of laying things out for. In this case, you talk about your supervisor. They want you to work on the moon project. I only have a day's worth of work for the star assignment. What do you want me to focus on?
Yeah.
And
that's some of it is clarification, right? So it's not so binary of yeah, I can do this or I can't do this. You need clarification of, Frank, I need you to do this project. Okay, so there are only 24 hours in a day and whatever, tell me, I'm working on these 3 projects right now. Which one is more important to you, to our company, to our team? How should I prioritize this? Or, I have this project due that you gave me on Friday. Can I start this on Monday? Or do you want me to do this one first? Or, this other person has been wanting to work on this project. They actually may have more experience than you, why don't you reach out to this individual? So it's not always a hard and fast yes, no, like it is sending an RSVP to a kid's birthday party. There may be some back and forth conversation to get clarification, especially if it's coming from your supervisor or somebody else on a different team, just to make sure, because you don't want to leave people hanging as well. Like projects do need to be done. You just might not be the one to be able to do it or be part of it. So be aware and ask smart questions. So you're kind of putting the ball back in their court and you're playing together. You're making sure the priorities are in sync. So you're not just saying yes or no to something that you're not aware of what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, what I wrote a note in the margins, just add value. I mean, what I like about what you propose is you're really adding value to the situation. Hey, I've got this one project. You want this other project. If I'm the pleaser and I take this other project on and I push this other one aside, they could be worse off. So it's adding value to the situation by saying, okay, which is more important to you? And I'll have that conversation with my assistant. Hey, I need to get this done. It's like, well, what about this other stuff? Good point. Get that back to me. I'll do that. You focus on that. We need to get that done. Or, what, you really ought to go talk to Sally or Steve because, they did this last year and they probably have their notes, or I guess it depends on the situation. One of the examples you used in here was, I assume it was at the Wharton School where you were helping students with their visas. Was that it? Did I read that? It was international students.
Oh yeah. So it was somebody I interviewed. Yeah. And they were just given just tons more work and the other person didn't want to give it back. And at some point said, I can't do your job and my job and this other thing. We have to have a conversation. But it's, especially I think during COVID times are working virtually. If you're seeing people physically, you might get a grasp on if they're doing something or they're doing work.
Yeah.
But virtually, you really have no idea what's going on or who has what on their plate, unless you're using Slack or Trello or another platform, and we keep dumping things more onto other people's laps. And I think there's always, especially as a supervisor, or if you feel overwhelmed, we should always regroup. Where are we? What's a priority? I mean, the world totally changed last March. Who knows what's going to happen this March? Things that maybe really an annual thing that you do might not be a priority this year. So always get an idea of what's going on so you can say no, or you can say yes to something else, because you might be working on something that's not a priority. And then you're wasting so much time on that and have been saying no to things that you could have said yes to, or vice versa. So getting that clarification and adding value along the way.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point. I was talking to my daughter earlier, and she's kind of in the running for a position. And she's like, my biggest concern is saying yes to this and something better coming along. It's like, yeah, that's,
That's always what, right? If I say yes to this thing, I might not be able to do that thing. And I feel like it's hard to live in that space, but knowing these are the opportunities that are on my plate right now. Is this something that I want to take, or am I willing to not do this for something else? But I think for me as an entrepreneur, it's tough. I think, COVID or not COVID, you're trying to work really hard. You're trying to make connections. You're trying to work with different people and different organizations, and saying no to things can be tricky. But if you're spending your time kind of in the weeds with everything, you're not able to grow your business. If you're trying to take everything on yourself and saying, well, this task is 5 minutes, this is 10 minutes, adding up all of the amount of time that you're spending in the weeds with things because you've said yes is really taking away from the bigger picture and the bigger tasks that you're trying to grow with your business.
Right. Well, in the workplace setting, if you're taking all this on, it's opportunities that are lost for other people. Is another thing to, so you're staying till 7, 8 o'clock at night, and other people are leaving at 4:30. They're not happy because they're leaving. Well, nobody's not happy about. Nobody's unhappy about leaving at 4:30. But you get what I'm saying? It's like, well, geez, they're not utilizing me. Why do they keep going to Frank? So I think there's a bigger picture there.
And you have to be able to advocate for yourself with that no, and doing it in a way of having those conversations like we were talking about before, of even these are all the things, and keeping track of them. These are all the things that are on my plate right now. These are all the deadlines. Can you really accomplish it? The worst, again, is saying yes when you really mean no, or you're going to drop the ball on something because there's so much going on. Really engage in those conversations of, this is what I have right now. I know I can work on these projects and get this done, and I'm comfortable with this. This is where I am a little bit nervous about. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Can I either have more people on my team? Can I hold off on this? I'm not able to do this. You need to be able to truly understand what you're capable of and can do, and not put yourself at the highest capacity, because that's just, you don't know what's going to happen again in the future, and things will change. So you have to also be there to protect yourself in some way, because people don't know what you're doing. You're the one who knows the best about what you're capable of, your skill set, and what's on your plate right now.
Yeah. To me, the most insightful thing that you've said, you've said a lot of insightful things, but just no shouldn't be a binary, or, the answer shouldn't be a binary yes or no. It should be, okay, let's talk this thing through. Do you really need it this week? What is it you really need to get done here? Are there resources I can tap into? Can I pull other people into this? And really trying to get at it that way, because then, they may determine that, well, you know what, maybe you're not the person, or, I can do that, or I don't know. It's just opening up communication. So, switching gears, we did this earlier in the month when you were on. I want to do it again. Good referral for you. How to get a hold of you, I'll put in the show notes again, your website, www.notokaythat'sokaycoach.com, right?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, that's
and on LinkedIn as well, so under Alissa Carpenter.
Yeah. I'll get that in the show notes. But types of people you work with, things you're trying to do.
Yeah, at work, a lot with organizations that are trying to bring people together to create more inclusion and really break down communications within the organizations. And great referrals to me are usually HR professionals who are bringing in people from the organization. And I forgot to mention this last time as well, a lot of what I do is more reactive than proactive. So somebody said or did something, or we're having an issue. So a lot of the times I work directly with the managers and their teams to create more cohesive teams and inclusive conversations with their groups.
Okay, well, good. Well, thank you for being on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.